for reported atrocities committed on individuals in the Fako division of the conflict-stricken southwest region of Cameroon. A group of human rights advocates and legal minds defenders of the rights of individuals has dragged a Boya-based traditional ruler to court. We shall be getting more in the course of this newscast. On Talking Points, we'll be knowing more on these atrocities and the violations of the rights of persons, victims in the circumstances. Unfortunate is the word used to qualify as far as the case is concerned. In this edition of the news, men of the underworld nabbed again by security officials in the center but also in the littoral region. So to say that birds have learned to fly without perching and hunters have learned to shoot without missing. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the 6 p.m. newscast live from Douala, Cameroon. They made it a duty to terrorize inhabitants of Ezeka in the Nyongankele division of the central region of Cameroon. Bandits, they are men of the underworld. The suspected bandits have been apprehended and presented to the public. In the following report, Lucy Liengo tells us that they were presented alongside some items said to be those stolen from inhabitants of Ezeka, but also elsewhere in the Nyongankele of the central region of Cameroon. They were presented by police officials.
Packets of marijuana, stolen phones and televisions were some items recovered from these suspected bandits who, according to inhabitants, have been terrorizing the Ezeka and the Nyon and Kele division in general. They were intercepted thanks to a complaint launched by a businessman based in Ezeka. Sources say the businessman reported to the police following an attack he had in his home, though the bandits had escaped after the police were alerted. A manhunt was launched by the police, resulted to their arrest after 48 hours. The Public Security Commissioner of Ezeka calls on the population to remain vigilant.
En tant que police citoyenne,
we want to take this opportunity to call on the population of Ezeka and the Nyong and Kele division in general to collaborate with the Cameroon security forces. Just an information is enough for us to combat such acts which are against the law.
Derrière, c'est hors la loi.
While investigations are still going on, the presumed armed robbers are in custody.
Lucy Liengo telling us more there. And in the city of Douala, that is the littoral region of Cameroon, at least 23 bags of cannabis and fake medications have been intercepted from men of the underworld by police officials. Security officials, however, had planned to destroy the intercepted products today, but it's been postponed to a yet to be announced date, as our reporter Malak Glory tells us in the following report.
This is what security officials call the reward of top-level crime exposed by the Douala Wanjindam officers during an operation. At least 23 bags of cannabis and 20 cartons of fake medications were arrested in the residence of an individual in Newton Aripo neighborhood, Douala. They are cannabis and health products in great quantities. I counted 20 cartons and 23 bags of cannabis. In a release signed by the senior divisional officer of Wuri, the confiscated product was to be destroyed this Thursday. While on the field, new instructions were received and the destruction date was pushed forward to an unknown date. It can be arrested and it is not destroyed. All depends on the person behind the seizure. The suspect has been kept behind bars while the fake drugs are in the hands of competent authorities. The suspect has been kept behind bars while the fake drugs are in the hands of competent authorities.
Police officials of Ezekande, Nyong and Kele Division, gendarme officials of the city of Douala, that is the Douala 1 Legion of the National Gendarmerie, say that there is no rest and no hiding place for men and individuals involved in activities of the underworld. But in the Mongo Division of the Littoral region, people do not understand that it is a maize season, but maize is becoming scarce. Farmers, however, try to explain that the situation is provoked by a hike in the prices of inputs, especially fertilizers, that has seen farmers having little yield as far as maize is concerned. In the following report, Immaculate Fogwe takes us to the Mongo Division. Maize is the subject of his report.
A maize vendor at the Loom Market in the Mungo Division lamenting over the increase in price and the scarcity of maize in markets across the Mungo. The few available bags that manages to get into the market, buyers scramble to get a reasonable quantity. Though it is the maize season, its steady rise is gradually going beyond the reach of the common man.
The price of corn has drastically increased in the market. The situation now in Cameroon that we are facing for corn is very bad. Last year we were buying corn for a smaller cob, we were buying it for 150 francs, but now it is 250. For a bucket, we were buying a bucket of corn for 4,000 francs, but now it has increased to 6,000 francs. So the situation is really bad. The consumers are suffering. They are really suffering.
The situation has led to an increase in the price of feed and other products which has maize as major ingredient. Farmers blame the rise in poor yields provoked by the increase in the prices of fertilizers.
People are afraid because the maize this year have not done well, and then the prices of fertilizers and other chemicals have increased in the market. So the one that people have produced this year, they have to keep some for their own consumption, then before they'll carry the rest to the market. So we are really afraid that prices of corn might increase. It might even double times 2. So people, we don't know what we are going to do in this country. We don't really know.
It is the maize season, and we all have the choice to either eat it boiled, fried, or roasted. It tastes so good.
I know the scarcity in fertilizers and other key inputs, as lamented by farmers there, has been highly linked to the war between Russia and Ukraine. It is not the only commodity or item that is suffering as a result of the unfortunate incident. Far off in Europe, there is also a problem of wheat, but Cameroonians have been asking if Cameroon cannot grow wheat at a time when the price of wheat is increasing because of scarcity or shortage from Russia and Ukraine. There was an attempt to provide answer in Buea in the southwest region of Cameroon. The attempted answer came from the Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation. Derek Jato from our southwest regional chief town in Buea has the rest of the story.
Southwest Governor Bernard Kaliabila is holding in his hand a plastic, and it contains wheat stems at a nursery stage. Wheat will soon be out of stock, expert warn, and there are no hopes that these products will be imported anytime soon. Cameroon solely depends on the West for wheat, and the Russia-Ukraine war has led to the destruction of wheat fields and perturbing the production. A country like Cameroon, where each household rely on wheat flour-made products like bread, is very uncomfortable. Can we not grow wheat in Cameroon? The Cameroon Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation, leader in research in the country, has practically answered this agricultural question from Cameroonians.
Over time, the impression was given that we cannot grow in this part of the world. Iran has worked a lot on that, and is testing it with different agroecological zones. So this is one of the things we're doing here.
So from here now, we'll take it to the field in August. We'll try to do the lowland and the highland based on altitude.
Officiating a seminar in Buea on the sensitization of the population of the Southwest region on the availability and usability of scientific research results.
To continue pursuing scientific research.
The Southwest Governor saluted the Cameroon Minister of Scientific Research to have shown proof that wheat can be cultivated in Cameroon. Dr. Mafani George Tekede, Southwest Regional Delegate for Scientific Research and Innovation, on his part assured the population that his ministry is advancing strategies on how plantain, cassava and potato flour, just to name but these, can be used to substitute wheat for the meantime.
The minister is very involved because if we follow the trend, and because we have the technology, the Minister of Scientific Research and Innovation asked us to go down to the field and made available the funds for us to talk to you the way we're talking to today, so that you will know what we have, and that in a way will help allay the fears that people have that, okay, without wheat we cannot have bread. No, without wheat we can have bread, and we have just demonstrated that.
Thanks to the Minister for scientific research.
Now, with the awareness, these participants use the platform to call on the Cameroon government to fund large-scale agricultural production in order for them to meet up with the ever-increasing demand in Cameroon.
And in a related story, experts continue to hold that a food crisis is imminent if Cameroon continues to prefer the importation of goods over the enhancement of local production. This at the time when the war between Russia and Ukraine continues to affect the food sector in Cameroon and the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. The rising food prices are indications of that a food crisis is threatening the country, and in a bid to improve local production and the transformation, the Regional Center for Research Northwest Region is sensitizing local producers on the need to improve local production. We have the rest of the story from our Northwest Regional Chieftown desk in Bamenda. Mbustela is the lady on the story.
Online, videos like these are for fun, but in reality, there is misery in the neighborhoods as the prices of commodities continue to rise. The Russia-Ukraine war has been blamed even for the rising prices of foods with high potentials of local production. This year, Mumbo Therese is able to farm just a quarter of her farmland. She blames her inability to cultivate more on the high prices of fertilizers and the unavailability of improved seeds.
This potato, when I talk so, I buy them for 500 for kilo. Now because na big farmer sell them for we. But if it be say no be big farmer like now 1,000 for kilo. So forget potato inside this month. For this kind of way, easy because of rain. And then if be fine seed, so fertilizer don't too much, and then do well like how you see the one so.
Therese is not the only affected. In her farming group, the over 20 members face similar challenges in food cultivation, further compounded by the yams conflict and the lack of farm-to-market roads. Their inability to produce now means a food crisis in the future as the population continues to increase. Within the mission of coordinating, valorizing and extending research findings developed over the years, the Northwest Regional Center for Research and Innovation is in a sensitization mode, encouraging farmers to make use of research findings that will boost local production.
We have salient research results that have been out there for years. We've worked on them and we've even worked and innovated on some of the research results. And we are coming out to tell the farmers that we need to look at the global picture. While looking at the global picture, let's start from the local level. So we are giving them the basic seed, which they go out now and they'll produce clean seed material. And then that's how we'll have the multiplier effect.
Experts say the longer the stepping up of local production and transformation take, the already high prices will continue to go higher.
And inhabitants of a neighborhood like Dakar, Bilongi and Dokbas in the Douala Free municipality are complaining of frequent floods, especially when it heavily rains across the economic capital city of Douala. Drainage paths are all blocked by the unhealthy activities of inhabitants in that part of the city. We have details with Anna Bila in the following report.
The rainy season is here, and the local inhabitants of the Douala 3 area are faced with what they term recurrent inundation. Roadside gutters and most drainage systems available are blocked either by domestic waste or by houses built on the way of runoffs. They complain their houses are heavily flooded whenever it rains. It is a very big problem to us whenever it rains. Water fills up everywhere. The whole place is inundated. Even bikes can't pass. You leave your house well dressed up, but on the way you have to take off your shoes. We are mal at ease here. Those living in quarters like Bilonge, Ndokpasi, Dakar among others blame the situation on incivility on the part of the population. They as well want the mayor to once again go down on the field, take note and come up with another plan to widen existing water passages in the area.
We thank Monsieur le Maire for the work we done for you today. Because the town water the fall. We thank
the mayor for what he has done. Whenever it rains, nobody sleeps. We stay away carrying our children to the safe part of the house. Several people have built houses on water paths. Let the mayor come and see.
He must come see.
Vincent Gambo is the first assistant mayor of the Douala 3 Council. He affirms there is a huge inundation problem in his area of jurisdiction and the causes would be looked into for a possible solution.
Une grande partie des populations des habitants de Douala 3e sont très réfractaires à la légalité. Beaucoup donc ont dévié le nid des drains pour construire des cases, des portes.
A great portion of the inhabitants of the Douala 3 area are building illegally. Most have used drains to build pigsties, herds and rearing of other animals. So we must break them. Those inhabitants calling on the mayor to come and demolish those structures know very well that most people have built illegally on drainage paths. According to locals, floods in the Douala 3 municipality have reportedly caused not only material damages but loss of human lives.
Remember, we told you on the start of the news that we're going to be having a legal mind on talking points. Yes, he shall be talking to us more on the brief action. Brave is the word that has been used by many to qualify the move of some human rights advocates and a group of lawyers who have dragged a Boya-based traditional ruler to court on reported atrocities and human rights violations committed on individuals within Boya subdivision but also in the Fako division. It comes at a time when the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, Charter, in a statement on the 29th of June 2022 denounced what they qualify as atrocities and repeated torture committed on individuals within Fako division, but also went ahead to denounce impunity in the situation in the Southwest region. Time for us to talk the unfortunate incident that was recorded across the city of Douala today on the second bridge. As you can see on your screens, elements of the Army Rescue Unit on the second bridge over the Vuri River crossing from the heart of the city of Douala to Bonaberry. One person died in the course of an accident that resulted from a head-on collision between a commercial motorbike and a taxi, a township taxi. One person died on the spot, according to information gotten on the scene of the incident. The Army Rescue Unit was alerted and the lifeless body of the victim was transported, as you can see on your screens, by the Army Rescue Unit to the hospital. We shall be coming back to that in a follow-up. But just before we go to talking points, to receive Barrister Tamfo Richangarka, we take on sport to talk about the ongoing Africa Women's Cup of Nations in the northern African country of Morocco, to say that the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon will attempt to stop the dominance of the Super Falcons of the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria when they clash in one of the quarterfinal matches of the AFCON that will be tomorrow, Thursday. The Super Falcons of Nigeria have always had an upper hand over the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon. Simanji Kangebe previews that match in the following report.
Cameroon and Nigeria will be ruining their misfortunes after being paired against each other in their last 8 clash in Casablanca Thursday. The Super Falcons have qualified for all 8 previous editions of the Women's World Cup and are favored against the indomitable Lionesses. But their opponents participated at the last 2 editions and will provide strong resistance. The Super Falcons have stopped Cameroon from clinching the trophy on 4 different occasions. In Cameroon in 2016, Nigeria beat the indomitable Lionesses 1-0 to win the cup. And in Ghana, Nigeria also stopped Cameroon from reaching the finals, beating them at the semi-finals. Putting all of this in mind, it will be a revenge game for the indomitable Lionesses when they face Nigeria this Thursday. Cameroon, who didn't put up a very great show at the group stage, managed to score 3 goals and finished second with 5 points. Nigeria, on their part, scored 7 goals and conceded 1, finishing in second spot in Group C. Cameroon has, however, not witnessed a defeat since the start of the tournament in Morocco. On the contrary, their opponents, the Super Falcons, began their tournament with a defeat in the hands of the Bayana Queens of South Africa. Tunisia, who are the other country without a past World Cup experience, take on South Africa, who were at the last Women's World Cup in France. Desiree Ely's side won all 3 group matches, including beating defending champions Nigeria in their opening game of the tournament in Morocco, but have been hit by a hammer blow, with star striker Tembi Katlana suffering serious injury. South Africa, who are seen as favorites to win the trophy, are the only second nation to have qualified to the knockout phase without a defeat during the group phase. The Tunisians are making their appearance at the knockout phase of the competition for the first time and started the tournament in a high after thrashing Togo 4-1.
I'll be asking Barrister Tamford Rich and Garka to draw a line between the activities of elements of the National Defense and Security Forces and the legal provision of the presumption of innocence, and also the rights of the people caught in the conflict-stricken regions like the Northwest, the Southwest, but also the far north region of Cameroon. Ladies and gentlemen, fans, for stay with us all through the first part of news. Coming up is Talking Point. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us on Talking Points. As we told you in our first part of the news, our guest tonight is a legal mind. He is a human rights defender, a human rights advocate, a lawyer, and a member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. We are receiving Barrister Tamford Richard. Barrister Tamford Richard, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fumi Armstrong. It's always a pleasure for me to be here.
With you, we're going to be analyzing recent cases of reported gross human rights violations in the conflict-stricken Southwest, Northwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Your law firm has taken a further step on what the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa charter in a statement on the 29th of June 2022 qualified as a routine torture committed against unarmed civilians by Chief Ewome John in Fako division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. Now, tell us more on this torture, inhumane and degrading treatment perpetrated on victims as outlined in a document and in the action taken by you and core human rights defenders.
Yes, like you rightly said, it is no more news that we are witnessing a series of acts which in a state of law like Cameroon, it's not befitting. It does not show the image that Cameroon is portraying to be a state of law where they respect the rule of law. We cannot continue to accept constant violations of the constitution of Cameroon and some basic fundamental principles of law, which are generally that in any state that preaches that it respects the rule of law, everybody should be seen equal before the law. You cannot be arrested arbitrarily without any court judgment. And Cameroon, in its preamble, when you look at the constitution, has clearly says that it affirms to some international instruments like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and all international instruments that have been duly ratified by Cameroon. So We have seen all over the social media videos of a certain man named Moja, Chief Moja, which to him, with his gang, is being seen committing acts which violate not only international instruments on human rights and even the penal code. You see that we decided, not me alone. In the days ahead, I said I will be leading a team of lawyers to make sure that we make this person understand that in Cameroon no one is above the law and that the law is applicable to everybody. So a team of lawyers who joined me in this action saw it reason that it was high time that we protect the human rights situation in Cameroon, and we decided to put up a good complaint against such atrocities, which to me are considered inhumane and should not exist, and it even tarnishes the image of the Republican Army that we have in Cameroon. So
now, we've had reports on rights violations in the conflict-stricken regions. That's the northwest and southwest regions. We've had reports from international rights groups like Human Rights Watch. We've had Amnesty International and other rights groups talking about just how the rights of the people caught in the conflict regions are being violated. Now, in this particular case, it is an actor which is said to be identified, and your action, you are announcing that you've taken with your co-right defenders, has been qualified as one of the strongest so far taken within the challenging right cases witness. I want to remind our listeners that I talked about a statement made by a right group, that is Chada, on the 29th, but just after that we had some position political party actors coming on social media to say that the individual in question goes with impunity after these riots. But can we now know more about these actions, which is said to be common most within the Buya subdivision and the rest of the Fako division?
Yes, the actions that all of us are seeing is that innocent civilians are arrested on a constant basis, precisely by this particular person who will be happy filming the scene. You will see he will address somebody without any due warrant or summons before a judicial police officer, and inflicting assault on the person, degrading treatment, and you see these are innocent civilians to me, because it's a principle of law that you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So when you, even if it appears that these are suspected separatist fighters, the proper action to be done, he as a soldier is not to render justice to himself or take the laws into his hand as he is doing. So I think the proper thing to do is to arrest those people and present them to law enforcement officers who have that competence, or to the court, so that they are able to have a fair hearing and a fair trial. So you see that innocent civilians are arrested in this scene, they are tortured, and and don't be surprised that some of these civilians even disappear without us even having any accountability of their whereabouts. So we will not continue to sit back and see that somebody is taking the laws into his hands in all impunity and putting the attire and the reputation of the Cameroonian army at stake. So we have taken these actions in the interest of the civilian population to say no, the civilian population should not be the target of any armed conflict. And if actually Cameroon is a state of law, I'm hoping and we are very hopeful that these kind of actions will not prosper, because the offenses committed are very clear. You have arbitrary arrest, false arrest, sequestration
with videos available and published mainly on social media.
Good. So we see acts of tortures, we see acts of abuse of function. So if actually Cameroon is a state of law, and where they respect the rule of law, and that which we strongly and firmly believe that it is, so we should be expecting that the heavy arms of justice are going to befall on this person, because bet you the sentences are not something to play around. So the punishment can go as far as 20 years imprisonment if he is found guilty.
A woman, John Eko, His Majesty, he's a traditional ruler and a soldier, alias Moja, as you indicated, he's a soldier barrister. But as a human rights defender, where is the limit of the activities of a soldier that has as interest to protect the country against enemies, and his responsibility in treating people whom he sees that are enemies or potential enemies to the country and the peace of the country he as a soldier has some to protect?
You see, as a soldier, the head of their hierarchy is the head of state, who is the head of the armed forces. And it is clearly stated in the Constitution that their role is to protect properties and the rights of citizens. So if he is a soldier and he's on the field, his prime interest is to protect civilians and protect their property. So when he's seen instead doing the contrary, I think there is a call for questioning. So as a chief, he should instead be an exemplary leader, showing that as a chief, he's out for justice, he's out for peace, and he's out for equality before the law, not taking the laws into his hands as he's doing. So it's not because he's a chief or he's a soldier that he thinks that he is above the law. No, this is why prompted our reaction, and other human rights advocates which got interested in this acts of this Chief Moja, who said no, enough is enough. You cannot continue to go in impunity, and we have decided and bent to make sure that justice should prevail. And we strongly believe that Cameroon is that country that will give us the justice we need.
Many think that it is a brave action taken by you as a human rights advocate and your core human rights defenders in Cameroon, because to them there have been a lot of questions surrounding the acts of the activities of this individual and the impunities that goes with it. Now, it is not the first time we're seeing this. He began acting the way he's acting as his way of fighting armed separatists in the Anglophone region several months ago, and it's all been going some kind of unnoticed or unquestionable, or with questionable silence on the part of authorities. How much do you believe that this action will bring better results?
You see, it needs a lot of courage to carry this kind of actions, and I will not lie to you. I have received personally a number of threats to my persons, telling me that we will not succeed, that even mystically they will handle the situation. But to me, as a human rights defender, you should know that those things are frivolous threats, and it can't work. So we are determined, and we are very, very hopeful, like I told you, that it's only the law that is guiding our actions, and we will not behave in the barbaric attitude that some of these surrogates call and threaten, thinking that those calls or threats will intimidate our action. No, we believe that it's only through or before a court of law that we'll be able to have justice. And like I told you, except the court disappoints me, because all the evidence are clear and everything before us is very substantial, and we hope that justice is going to be served.
What should victims of similar atrocities in the northwest and southwest regions, but also elsewhere in Cameroon, do in case their rights are violated and they do not have the luck to have images sent to social media?
No, I think the best thing to do is to do as far as possible, or as much as possible, to see how to report those human rights excesses and abuses. Whenever you are a victim, make sure you find yourself either in a police station or in any law enforcement office, and make sure that you report the incident. And I believe that if actually your case is serious, I don't see which authority or administration will not be active or be reactive to such acts. So the problem is that people always at times have fear to denounce some of these human rights. It's not easy to denounce human rights violations or activities. You need a lot of courage to do that, and this is just what we are doing, and we believe that is going to yield fruit. And I think that if this action is really treated properly, I think that in the days ahead he is going to put an end to it, because he will be where he wants to find himself. And
do you believe that some of the actors, especially those of the defense and security forces of Cameroon sent to the field, always go for personal interest in their actions?
No, even during their professional training, they have lectures on human rights. They have training on human rights principles, and I think even in school they are taught that. So I don't, except they decide to go personal, because I don't see why you should be going to the field to protect the integrity of Cameroon, and instead of doing that, you instead turn around to be carrying out acts.
And you say such acts generally tarnish the image of the nation's army.
Yes, because we don't know whether the interpretation that a layman may have is that maybe the Chief Moja is one of those separatist fighters for the government. So why is he carrying all these human rights violations and he's not being punished? Is he the Amazonian fighter of the government or how? So that's the question we want to find. So if actually he's a military, he's a soldier of the Cameroon army, he should not be seen carrying all those kind of activities. So that is the reason why we believe that is allowing him to continue with this kind of actions continues or puts the reputation and even the integrity of Cameroon at stake, and I think it's not proper. It's not a proper image or a proper signal for Cameroon.
Finally, Barrister Tamfo Richard, who is paying for this action?
Well, who is paying for the action? I think all of us, we are losing.
I mean the step, the courageous step taken by you and your colleagues.
No, this is nobody is financing. No, we have not received any franc, and we don't expect to receive any franc.
What's the interest?
The interest is to seek justice. The interest is to protect the innocent citizens. The interest is to restore the image of Cameroon, to say that to make it known to everybody that we are all equal before the law, and that nobody can take the laws into his hands and go unpunished, and that every citizen has the right to a fair trial. So they will not come and just arrest you and they tag you a secessionist, and they judge you there, they sentence you, and they take you as he's doing, because he's behaving as the officer that arrests you, he's behaving as the court, he's behaving as a supreme law officer in Cameroon. So those are the actions that we want to rectify and say, no, in a state of law, we have respect for our institution, we have respect for the law, and that only the state has powers to prosecute and arrest people like that.
Despite the threats on your person and a group of people working with you. Thank you very much, Barrister Tamfo Richard. I remind our viewers that you are a human rights advocate, a lawyer, and a member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. We're glad you accepted to talk to us on this very important topic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with Equinoxe, your #1 television channel. Interesting programs continue. You're going to be having Equinoxe shortly after this from the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé. A phone newscast in the French language will come over at 8 p.m. still from Yaoundé. I'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. God willing.